All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our May 26th Naples Mac User Group meeting. Welcome to all of our members from all over the world and throughout the USA and Canada. Our Naples Mac User Group meetings are each and every Wednesday until June 30th, and then we take a short break and resume September 1st. And the meetings are always from 11:30 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. You must be a member of Naples Mug or an invited guest to attend our meetings. We have about 42 weekly meetings a year. We also want to make sure we specially welcome all of our members from other Mac user groups throughout the world. And we're very thrilled, excited, and honored to have members from other Mac user groups who have also joined our group and have stayed along with their other group also. We are very excited, and we'd like to invite each and every one of you and each and every one of your friends and neighbors and relatives to visit our new Naples website, Naples Mac User Group website. Jenna, who was just talking to me a couple seconds ago, designed the website, and Mike Kowalczniak worked very closely with her to put it together, along with members of your board of directors. Here's an example for June. For example, all the information about everything that goes on in the group is pretty much on the website. And here happens to be the calendar. This calendar is on the website. It's good all the way through December of this year, and all the meetings are listed by week, by month. I just want to review a couple of the meetings coming up. On June the 16th, Dennis DiGiacomo is back with us, and will be Apple security issues. And I will let you know further about what those issues are that he's going to cover at our next meeting. Next week, no, excuse me, in 2 weeks, on June 9th, we have Kelly Gamont, and she's pretty much going to talk about tips and tricks and all kinds of things that you really don't know about that your phone and your iPad can do. Kelly has been an Apple expert for many years. She's with the Observer and is very involved in the Apple community. Next Tuesday, Victoria Herring, who's president of the Des Moines Mac User Group, who joined our group a little over a year ago, and she is going to run her first meeting, and it's going to be a Q&A meeting and also a meeting on what we're calling decluttering and cleanup, something that each and every one of us have to deal with. So this should be a great meeting. We welcome Victoria as a speaker to our meetings, and we're very excited that she has agreed to do this. And of course, today's meeting is Jim Corsica, who is our, what are we calling you, Jim, now? You're not the expert, you're not the genius.
An aficionado.
Okay. They didn't like the wording I was using, so we changed it. But anyway, Jim is that guy. If you want to know anything or everything about the Apple TV, he's our resident expert. And welcome, Jim. Thank you for doing this meeting. Of course, he was anxiously awaiting the brand new Apple TV. He got it, I think, the beginning of this last week at the Apple Store, the minute it came out. And he's 100% prepared for this meeting. Thank you.
I'm glad there was no buildup, George. Yes, we saved genius for Sheeta. She's the only true genius here. Thank you very much. I am indeed an owner of the new Apple TV. Along that lines, I did something for the first time. I've never done it, and that was I ordered it online. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to get it in time, so I ordered it online and picked it up at the store, and it was a piece of cake. Now I suspect it's because it was the Apple TV. If it had been the iPhone, there would probably have been lines around the block. But this was very, very easy. And so I wanted to make sure that I could work with it for at least a few days. Turns out it didn't take that much to work with it, which I think you'll see in a couple of minutes. Let me begin with a video and audio disclaimer, which is one of the things I'm going to be doing is capturing the home screen of my Apple TV. And I'm sitting right across from it now, and I'm using QuickTime to do that. But I won't be able to get video and audio on all or even most of the apps because of digital rights, that sort of thing, copyright, if I even open some. But my focus here is to kind of go into what is different, what is new, that sort of thing. Okay, that is the old Apple TV, old in the sense that it was the generation before, and you can see that it was a brick, a hockey puck, and it had a remote that had this large area for sweeping. And a lot of people found that very, very difficult to use, in addition to the fact that the remote was thin and always seemed to find its way down through the side of the Lazy Boy or Barcalounger. This is the new one, and you can see that the brick has not changed much, but the remote is very, very different. I'm going to go into the remote a little deeper in a second. First of all, what's in the box? All right, you have the new Apple TV 4K. You have the remote, power cable. You have a Lightning to USB cable, but no HDMI cable. I can't for the life of me figure out why Apple is not giving an HDMI cable. You need a high-speed one. That's a special HDMI cable for this and the previous Apple TV. But that, as they say, is the way it is. This is basically all generations of the remotes, and you can see that the new remote in the middle is kind of a hybrid of the previous generations. It returns to the aluminum shell that we first met several generations ago, but it has the features of the black remote on the right. Now, you can see up here at the top where my cursor is that you have the return of the click wheel. And the click wheel functions like the way the early iPods did. However, it doesn't just do that. You can sweep across that wheel just like you would sweep across the surface of the previous generation's remote and do quick navigation as well. I'm going to go into the functions of the buttons in just a second. First of all, the prices are the same, $179 for the 32 gigabyte and $199 for the 64 gigabyte. And as I've talked about in the past, it's still expensive by comparison to other streamers. These are basically the only two choices of Apple TV. There are some previous generations of Apple TV, like the 4K version before this, I think, is $149. And then there are generations before that that are still available, but I don't know why buy that. Also, I can't see any reason to spend $199 for the 64 gigabyte unless you are one of those people who is significantly into gaming, and then you would need a game controller for that. I'll go back to that in a minute. So why buy it? Well, like many Apple products, the setup is a breeze using your iPhone. You literally take the Apple TV out of the box, you plug it in, it boots up. Now, I was curious as to whether or not it would boot up with all of the apps that I had previously, and sure enough, all of the apps that I had in the previous generation came back up on my home screen. And I would say that the total time that it took to repopulate the home screen was probably less than 20 minutes. And I don't know, I haven't counted the number of apps I have, but I must have 30. There are people with more, but I have about 30. So setup is a breeze. Logins are still a pain. In other words, I have a new device, and so some of these logins, like HBO Max and Netflix and so forth, they don't recognize the new device, and so you have to log in, and so that's still a pain. But once you're logged in, you're logged in. And for me, the fact that it fits in the Apple environment, along with iPhones and my laptop computer and my iPad, it just is great for that reason. And I realize some of the smart TVs being issued these days have, for example, mirroring built in, so that you're able to mirror your iPhone to some smart TVs. I believe Samsung makes one. But you know, I just watched this Broadway concert last weekend where I wasn't sure how I was going to access it on the Apple TV, so I pulled it up on my phone. I mirrored it to my Apple TV, and I had this beautiful HD concert for about an hour and a half. So I just like the fact that these all work together really, really well. One of the changes in the new machine is that it has the A12 chip, which I believe was in the most recent MacBook Pro, not the one with the M1, but the one before that. It's supposed to provide faster performance and opening apps. And as you can see here, I say that it's not dramatic because, frankly, if there's a difference, it's not a difference that I can notice. So that's a selling point, but I'm not sure that it's not microseconds, if you know what I mean. And of course, the Apple TV works with both HomeKit and HomePod, neither of which I own. So I am not a source on that in terms of a selling point for the Apple TV. The new remote, unlike the old one, cannot be used as a gaming controller. The old one, you could turn it on its side, and for certain games, you could use it as a gaming controller. This one, if you want to use games on the Apple TV, you have to have one of those gaming controllers, like on a PS4, PS2, whatever it is, box. Any of those gaming boxes. The redesigned Siri Remote with new ClickPad with 5-way navigation. Finally, I say. Okay. Hold on just a second. I'm going to I'm mirroring my phone. I'm going to show you this 9053. There we are. Okay. Okay. Let's take a little closer look at the remote. There you go. First thing I want you to see is that when you turn it on its side, it's about at least half again or twice as thick as the old Apple TV remote, those of you who had the previous generation's remote. Up there on the top, right here, is the Siri button. I'll have something to say about that in a couple of seconds. Okay. And then in the front, you have these controllers. I find this has a greater heft in the hand than the other remote did. The other remote I considered kind of slippery, especially when you were trying to use the trackpad. Now this circular piece up here works as a selector like that, and you can also just sweep on it, and it works like a trackpad. Now, the reason why I like this new remote is the click wheel is a positive click wheel. Any of you who watched the movie and you wanted to rewind the movie 10 seconds or advance the movie 10 seconds, it was always questionable whether or not it worked on the old remote. It was just too ill-defined. This one is a very positive click. It gets you the 10 seconds or 20 seconds advance or rewind very positively. There's no question about it. It works every time. If you want to fast forward or rewind farther than that, you can just hold down the wheel and it will do that. Okay. You can also, of course, use Siri. Okay. You can use Siri, press it and rewind 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever you want to do. Okay. The other buttons, all right, that less than sign button is what would have been on the old remote, the menu button. So when you press that button, it takes you back to the previous screen. If you hold it down, it takes you back to the home screen. So if you're deep into a movie and you pause the movie, you want to click quickly back to the home screen, you hold that button down and it gets you there. This, of course, this button is play pause. This is mute. This controls the volume on your TV. And let me just say, I don't understand why this works, but it does. When I plugged in my Apple TV and I watched something, it automatically became a controller for my speaker system. I have a soundbar, subwoofer, wireless surround system, Vizio system, and I don't know why it controls the volume, but it does, and so that's fine with me. This button with the TV on it gets you to the Apple TV remote right away. Or if you hold it down continuously, it goes to sleep. That also happens with the on-off button. That's also something new on the Apple TV, is the on-off button for turning it on, turning it off. If you hold it down from any place on the screen, it'll turn off the machine. And of course, at the bottom, that little slot is the slot for charging the remote. This one has 100% charge on it right now. But I think that this is a significant improvement on the other remotes. Okay. So get right down to the crux. This is, again, my opinion, that the difference between the previous generation and this generation in terms of performance, at least based on my 4 or 5 days experience with it, I don't find significant. The biggest change and the most welcome change for me is the remote. So here's the thought. Since all of the remotes are forward and backward functioning, in other words, the previous generation's remote works with the current generation and previous generations, buy the current remote, which is $15, and use it with your previous generation Apple TV 4K. Excuse me. And
Did
it'll
you say $15 or $59?
$59. It's right there on the screen, George. Right in the middle. $59. The remote's $59. And I'm actually considering doing that I moved the old Apple TV 4K to my bedroom. Excuse me. And I'm considering buying one of the new remotes just for that Apple TV. This Apple TV has a color balancing feature, which basically fine-tunes your TV set for optimal performance from the Apple TV. That's the only thing that it gives you optimal performance for. But it's very easy to do. It's a little tricky to do, but there's a video that I've given you a link to later on in the talk that shows you how to do the color balancing if you have either this generation or the previous generation's Apple TV 4K. I was kind of surprised by that because I didn't realize, I thought the color balancing feature was going to be a feature of the new Apple TV, but it in fact was a feature of the new operating system. Excuse me. And so if you have the old Apple TV 4K, you also have the color balancing function in your settings. And then Siri, I have questions. Okay. This button on the sides of the remote, on the side of the remote, is a Siri button. And I used it, but I think my understanding of Siri and maybe the Apple TV's understanding of Siri are different things. It was very high functioning if I asked a question within the entertainment / app environment. But if I asked what would be an ordinary Siri question, the answer I got was, I'm sorry, I can't answer that here. And the question I asked was, what is the distance from Providence, Rhode Island to Naples, Florida? Which I think is a pretty basic Siri question. And it couldn't answer that. So it's called Siri, but to me, it's not the kind of Siri that searches the internet like the Siri we've all come to know and love. So it's great as long as it's an entertainment question, that kind of thing. Don't forget that your iPhone has an Apple TV remote on it. Speaking of remotes, once you connect your Apple TV to your iPhone or iPad, the Apple TV remote app is automatically installed in your control center on your device. It's a very, very fine remote. I don't think it functions completely like the new remote, but it's pretty darn good. And when I got frustrated with the 10-second advance or 10-second rewind on on the previous remote, I would frequently just put it aside and use my phone because it did a good job. You can also use your Apple Watch as a remote as well. I don't do that because I have sausage fingers and I have problems enough with the Apple Watch in terms of the size of its characters. Okay. Miscellaneous. Okay. The Apple TV 4K can still do home sharing, and one of my questions is about that later on, and I'll get back to it. Of course, all of the devices have to be on the same network. It still does mirroring AirPlay, which is becoming more widespread with the smart TVs that have come out recently. A lot of them have the Apple TV software in it that allow you to mirror. The wallpapers on the Apple TV are quite beautiful. And when the Apple TV goes into a sleep mode, you get some beautiful pictures from all over the world. Josh Centers has, I believe, addressed our group once or twice. Am I correct about that, George? Is it once or twice?
I think, yes, once or twice. I think once. I think once.
Okay. And Josh has written a take control book on the Apple TV 4K. I'm not sure that it's been updated, but here is a link to his thoughts, thanks to President Emeritus Jerry King, and that's in there. I'll pause this for a while if you want to take a screenshot of this. And thanks to Mitch Briers. This is what's great about giving a talk like this, and you have a bunch of friends. They volunteer information that help your talk. Mitch sent along a link to a great video, which I watched a couple of times. And this goes into the subject of color balancing, but it also goes into the subject of the settings you want to have on the Apple TV 4K. I will show you those in a minute. But it's about a 10-minute video and worth your time if you have either of the 4K Apple TVs. Okay. Let me do this. Okay. That's the screen of my new Apple TV. And I honestly don't remember whether the old TV 4K had a choice between a dark or light background that is common with the new iOS and Mac operating systems, but you can see here that this is a folder that I made on premium networks. Okay. Now, this movie or this program is playing on my TV right now. I can see it, but as you can see, it's not coming up on my screen because of digital rights. Okay. Let me go to settings here. Settings. Okay. And I'm choosing video and audio. And let me move this a little bit. My gallery is blocking me and maybe blocking you. I'm not sure. The three settings that I want to point out here for the Apple TV 4K, and this is covered in the video if you watch the video. Okay. You want to enable Dolby Vision in the first setting in the format 4K SDR. Now, this is the bigger question. You might say, well, wait a minute, my 4K television is capable of HDR. That's true, and you do use that when you set up the Apple TV's settings, and the video explains why you leave it at 4K SDR. The chroma is actually a choice between two things. The match content is very important. It says match content. Let me come down here and show you the choices. You basically get two choices: dynamic range and frame rate. You want both of those to be on. Unfortunately, the default settings are off. I didn't know that when I first bought my Apple TV 4K, the previous generation, and so I just left it off. And it turns out that's a pretty important setting for optimal performance of the Apple TV. By using those three settings, what happens is when you tune in a movie or TV program, it could be in a wide variety of formats. It could be in Dolby Vision, it could be in HDR, or it could be in standard high definition, okay? By using these settings, the Apple TV will automatically recognize the format of the source material and provide the optimal performance for that particular movie or television. I tried it out, and sure enough, without doing anything, if I tuned in a Dolby Vision movie, Dolby Vision appeared in the upper right-hand corner of my television set. If it was an HDR, HDR appeared in my upper right-hand corner. If it was an ordinary high definition, nothing appeared. So it was functioning very perfectly.
Jim,
Yes.
is that just for the new Apple TV or the latest Apple TVs? What you're saying?
It's for either of the Apple TV 4Ks.
Okay, thank you.
Both the previous generation and this generation. In fact, the video that I'm recommending that you watch was actually recorded before this generation came out. Okay. Let me get out of here. And let's see, are we to questions? Yes, we are to questions. All right, so I'm going to pause here and ask Sheeta, do we have any questions on what I have said so far? I've got some questions coming up.
Well, yes, you do. And actually, the first three are from me.
First three are from you. Okay.
Yes, they are.
But if I can't answer them, I would ordinarily ask you.
Well, I have to go turn my Apple TV on. It just so happens that I purchased the old one 2 months ago, and I'd been waiting a year and a half, and I kept waiting for the new Apple TV to come out. Finally, I stopped waiting and I purchased it 2 months ago. So anyway, can you tell Siri to rewind for 3 seconds instead of like the 10 or the 5?
Yes, you can
Okay.
use any amount of time. It's all digital, of course. And I feel your pain about waiting so long, settling for the new one. I think anybody who's paid attention to Apple products knows that the Apple TV is the ignored child of the Apple family.
Right, right.
There've only been 6 machines, and 3 of them I think are obsolete at this point. I
Yes,
think
they
the
are.
only ones that are working right now are the current new one, the previous one, and then the so-called high definition one.
All right.
And the future of it seems to me that whatever developmental things they can do for the Apple TV have been done. I can't see it how they could improve it anymore, except for the remote, which I think they've done a good job with.
Right. Well, and let me say that I am not disappointed. So I really like it, and I don't think that I'll buy the other one, the new one. But things change. All right.
You
My
might
second,
you might consider buying just the remote, Sheeta.
I use my phone
Okay.
because I've dropped that remote more times than I care to say. All right. So my next question was, when you mentioned that your sound was controlled by the new Apple remote and you don't know how, is your speaker system connected to HomeKit?
No, no,
Okay.
my speaker system is a Vizio system. It's not connected. I don't have HomeKit.
Okay.
It's somehow new. That's the way Apple things work.
Well, you do have HomeKit.
I do?
Yeah, it's an app on Apple. And when I set up my new Apple TV, it asked me to point my phone at the television, and it said it's automatically connecting everything in my home that I normally use, like my speakers. It tells you it's connecting all of that stuff. So
Huh.
that's why I was asking. So maybe it's connected and you don't know it. All right. My
I don't
next question.
but I don't have any HomeKit devices.
Okay.
So I thought
That's fair.
that's what it meant.
Okay, well, okay.
Okay.
All right. My next question was, how do you access color balancing?
Oh, let me get back to.
Yeah. And also, I just want to mention your gallery is not in our way, so you can actually hide your gallery. We don't see it at all.
Okay. Let me get back to QuickTime Player. And okay. So let me just go back to the beginning here. All right, so I'm in settings, and I'm in video and audio. Oh, here I talked about how good the remote is, and I'm having trouble with it. So I'm in the video section, and down at the bottom of the video audio section. Okay, so I was at the top of the video audio section. Is a calibration section, and there's color balancing right there.
Okay.
And it takes you through it. Basically, what happens is you turn your iPhone. You have to do this with an iPhone, by the way. You turn your iPhone toward the screen of your television set, and a little color patch opens that is the same shape as your iPhone, but is a little bigger. And you hold the front-facing camera up to this area, and it goes through several different kinds of colors. And when it goes through that cycle, then your TV is properly color balanced. The phone has to be pretty close to the TV when you do it. And most people don't get it the first time, but it takes a couple of times usually to finally get it. And then you get a message telling you that it's been color balanced.
Jim, it's Mitch.
Yeah.
One of the things on the color balance that you should note is that it only color balances what's playing through the Apple TV. It does not color balance your regular TV settings.
Yeah, he
Right.
mentioned that.
I said that earlier.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I
yeah.
missed that.
Thanks, Mitch. And thanks for the video. These guys are very good. In fact, I subscribed to their YouTube channel as a result of this being so good.
Yeah, it was the best one that I found on doing these settings.
Yeah. Okay.
Jim, do you have to have a certain television in order to use the color balance?
No, any 4K television should be fine.
Okay.
Because it's really, you're optimizing the settings of the television. You're actually optimizing the settings on the Apple TV that are being supplied to the television. So it's a kind of a partnership that you're doing when you color balance.
And it's only a 4K television that this works on?
That's right.
Okay. All right. John Lane.
Actually,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
actually, Sheeta, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll check and let you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. John Lane, you have a question. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hi, Jim. Very
Hi, Jeff.
interesting. Absolutely fascinating. We're thinking of changing our 4K TV. I've got an LG Smart TV. Any special considerations to link that with the HDMI cable into the Apple TV? What kind of TV would you suggest one would use with it if you're going to change it?
Boy, that's a tough question to answer, John. The kind of TV I have is a straight 4K HDR television set. It's not. Sometimes you see TVs advertised that have an OLED designation on them, and there's another one that I can't remember at this point. And the price difference is
QLED is the other one.
QLED is the other one. That's right. Thanks.
Just repeat that. I could do with a cat. Q what?
QLED, QLED, and OLED.
Oh, okay.
Those two are at the top end. If you want really superior performance, those two are at the top end. And that's a format. It's not a brand. Okay.
Oh, okay. QLED. I've got it. Okay.
Yeah, QLED or OLED. But you're going to notice when you go price comparison to a regular 4K machine versus one of these OLED or QLED machines, there's a significant price difference. I'm talking like if you can get a good 4K machine for $1,000, a big one, 65, 70 inches for about $1,000. Then it'll be great. But if you wanted one that same size in OLED or QLED, it would probably be twice as much.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you, Jim. Excellent.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right. Mike Wozniak, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sure. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Mike.
So, do you know if the color balancing feature will work with a projected image from a 4K projector?
No, and strangely enough, that's a topic that's addressed in the video too, Mike. So that's a very good question, because it in a projector it doesn't work. Oh, can you see that
Yeah, it's
Cityscape.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's one of the sleep
Screensaver,
modes.
yeah, screensavers,
Yeah, it's
or,
beautiful.
yeah.
So going back
So-
to using it on a TV, so if you use the color balancing feature and you don't like the results, is it easy to jump back to the previous settings?
Yes, I believe
Brilliant.
I think when you're done with the color balancing, it gives you a comparison between the previous and the balanced image, and you get to choose.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wayne, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Jim, for this presentation. It's fills in a lot of unknowns at the time about the new Apple TV. But I attached the Apple TV that I got Wednesday, the new one, to an LG OLED TV that I had. It's this year's,
Uh-huh.
and I went through the color balancing on that one, and it said you can't color balance this TV. It's already has Dolby Vision, and you cannot color balance it.
Yes, I didn't mention that because the video goes into that. And in other words, if you've got your Apple TV set up for Dolby Vision, you've basically got this. You've got the optimal performance.
Right.
Yeah. So the color balancing, in other words, the color balancing is a characteristic of Dolby Vision.
And the OLED TVs are absolutely spectacular in the black. They have deep black backgrounds, not off-gray. And that's what OLED's capability has that's unmatched with LED type of televisions.
Well, that's good. That's good news, Wayne, because I am very, very frustrated. Perhaps you've noticed this, but I am very, very frustrated with the output on certain action movies, and it just seems many TV shows and action movies are very fond of filming in the dark or at night. And have you noticed that? I just watched the new zombie movie. I vowed I would never watch another zombie movie, but I just watched the new one because it was by Zack Snyder, who did the wonderful Justice League cut. And there was a lot of darkness in it. And while my machine does an adequate job on it, I don't think it does as good a job as it could. And if you're telling me that's the main thing about OLED is that it really sharpens the contrast, that's really a selling point.
Just the last comment is on the remote. The new remote is great. I agree with your analysis of it compared to that miserable thing in the past. On that circular thing, there's two. There's the center one, and then there's the rim. And when you get into the circular thing and you flip your thumb around, you can scrub the video. You can go back very slowly or quickly to an exact point.
Right.
And I found that to be a nice feature. The
Yeah,
scrubbing.
it's very, very nice and head and shoulders above the previous remote. I thought I said that, but maybe I didn't. Yeah, because the reason I thought I said that, Wayne, is because that's a function that you used to have on the old iPods. If you went around the circle like that, it went through the choices quite quickly on a playlist.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of the things Apple mentioned. It was just like the old iPod feature.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, Mitch, you have a question. Your hand is up. Do you have a question, Mitch?
Yeah, I have a few comments. Jim, could you go back up to the top of those settings screen right there? All the way to the top.
All the way to the top.
Okay, now if you go into this area and you have Dolby Vision checked, then you cannot color balance. If you go in and set it up the way this video says and do the 4K SDR, that Dolby Vision enabled comes up, which will, as you mentioned, automatically switch over. But I think the video said if you have Dolby Vision on as the default all the time, which you shouldn't have on, it will not allow you to color balance. So you might want to check that out, Wayne. And then on new TVs, I've done extensive research on this, and the best way to do that research is to get on YouTube and start putting in some information like you can put in what's the difference between an OLED and a QLED, it'll come up, and there's all kinds of videos. The one important factor is in buying a new TV right now is, does it support the new port standard, which is HDMI 0.1, which is
2.1, I think. Isn't it 2.1? 2.1, yeah.
I think it's 0.1 or 2.1, whatever it is, but it's much faster. And a lot of TVs out there still have the old just HDMI, and so you're buying something that's not future-proof at all.
Well,
and that also makes a difference on the kind of cable you buy as well, because if you buy the HDMI new standard of 0.1 or 1.2, whatever it is, then you need to make sure you get a cable that can handle that new standard, and they are backward compatible if you still have the old.
By the way, let me point out that, and those of you who have gotten the new Apple TV, that in the process of setting up these settings in the video settings that I pointed out, each step of the process checks to see whether you have the proper cable to handle the format that it's trying to set up. And so it'll tell you if you have the proper cable. But if you get a high-speed cable, as Mitch was talking about, you should be fine. Okay, what's next there, Shita?
All right, you are golden. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're going to get out of QuickTime Player. We're going to go and question 1 comes from Robert P. Will Apple TV pass Dolby surround sound? The answer to that is yes. If you follow the settings that the video that I've mentioned a number of times, it automatically senses the sound being supplied and supplies that to your speaker system. Now, I'm assuming that you're using the output from the TV from the optical connection into a sound bar or a hi-fi system. Most hi-fi systems, I should say all decent hi-fi systems should have an optical audio input. And so I'm assuming that that's the kind of connection. And once you set up the Apple TV, it chooses the proper audio format, whether it's Dolby Surround, Dolby Atmos. Some of the oldest films are still in what would be called stereo 2.1, which means basically left channel, right channel, and subwoofer. So the answer is yes, Robert. This came from Eckhart, and this was above my pay grade. And fortunately, I seemed to find something right away. Eckhart, do you want to fill us in here on your experience?
Yes, happy to. I do watch a lot of German television shows, and they are what they call geo-blocked or geo-protected. Some of them are. And so in other words, if I wanted to see that movie I would have to have a German IP connection. And on my television, that is, I don't know how to do that, but on my Mac, I actually can do it. So what I actually, when I run into that situation that I want to see a brand new movie and it's geo-blocked, I go to my Mac, stream it, use Airplay, and use my NordVPN to select a German IP address, and that way it works. But my question is, I would really prefer to do it, not to use my iMac, but to use my TV directly, my Apple TV. And I Googled it a little bit, and I found that you can actually get routers that allow you to use VPN and be selective as far as the IP addresses are concerned. I personally use an Eero router, and that seems to be more complicated to use a VPN with that. So that's the background of my question, really.
Well, I put the link in here, and I think I put it in. Yes. So we'll take a look at it. This is an article from Tom's Guide, and as Eckhart indicated, there was a multiple of hits that came up, and I thought this one was probably the most comprehensive. But again, I don't know much about this stuff. But Eckhart, maybe you can comment on this part. I just noticed that every one of them involves a monthly fee. You can't just outright buy the thing. You get the service per month or per year. Here's the NordVPN. And you can see the prices there, $12 a month, or if you get it for a year, it's about $60. But if you stop and think about it, it makes sense that the VPN would have to be in the router in order to work for the Apple TV, because I don't think the Apple TV has one. Anyway, that link is that one right there at the bottom of my slide.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Eckhart. I have to say that it froze me in my tracks when I got it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
This is Wayne Mertz, and I want to mention one thing.
Sure.
That I was able to do exactly what Eckhart was talking about, but I'm not going to mention it when we're being recorded.
Aha. Yeah.
Thank you.
A wise choice, Wayne. And I get the subtext. Okay. And questions 3 to 6 all came from Don Peacock, and fortunately, I think I could answer all of them. Let's go to number 3 first of all. Should we buy the Siri Remote? Is it worth the $59? No doubt you will cover this, and I did. As a matter of fact, if I knew then being a week ago, what I know now, I probably would have kept my old TV 4K, and I'm not sure this should be online either, but I don't want the Apple gods coming after me. But if I knew then what I know now about it, I probably would have bought the remote and kept my old Apple TV 4K. Because to me, the significant improvement of the new Apple TV 4K is the remote. That's the one that's visible. That's the one that makes the experience much better. That's what I would have done, Don. Okay, up at the top. In Mojave and earlier, iTunes had a feature where one could share music with others on the same network, file home sharing. Since Catalina, I don't see that music has this feature. Is that old simple method of sharing no okay? I think you get the idea. It's still there, Don. It's just in a different place. if we go up to the Apple menu and system preferences, down here is the sharing section. I don't know if I'd call it a nap. When I
Panel.
click on that, what would it be called?
Panel.
Panel, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. And you can see under sharing, there's your home sharing section, Don. Okay. And the big thing with home sharing, and anytime I've run into frustration with home sharing, it's because I forget to check the major detail, which is, are we all on the same network? Okay, a lot of times when I've had trouble with home sharing, it's because I wasn't on the same network. You know, most of the modems now have a 2.4G and a 5G. And I find sometimes after a power failure, when the modems boot up again, sometimes mine comes up with the 2.4G instead of the 5G. Okay.
Okay, what Mac OS are you on? I don't get the view that you had on sharing.
I'm on Catalina, Don.
So am I,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't get, so what do I select?
Apple
On-
menu,
Yeah. Sharing,
system preferences,
yeah,
sharing.
yeah, I do not get that view. And I'm running OS 10.15.7 Catalina.
I'm running 10.15.7 too.
Wow.
And so am I, and I get the same thing as Jim. So something's up with something's up with your system, Don.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's surprising, Don.
I'll send you, I'll email you my view.
Okay. Let's jump down to question number 4. Is there any way to wirelessly mirror what's on my Mac's display onto my television? I know that any TV, even one smart ones, can do that if connected to my Mac with HDMI cable. Is there some plug-in to my TV? Okay. Don, if you look, I don't want to get into a loop here. Let me think about it. Will I get into a loop? Well, let me plow ahead and see what happens. Okay, Don, if you look at way at the top of my screen, there's the familiar rectangle with the arrow on it.
Yeah,
You click on that, okay,
yeah,
and living room is my Apple TV 4K. Now, I normally keep my computer in my office, and so it's about 15, 20 feet away from it. And this comes up just fine. Click on living room, and you can't see it, but my computer screen is now on my TV through my Apple TV.
okay. Thank you.
That's the Max version of mirroring. It's actually an Airplay. So your questions now are up on my TV right now. You can't. I don't want.
Yeah.
I can't do it through QuickTime because you see I'd be in a loop then.
Okay, thank you.
So
Great.
it's there, been there for a while. Okay, and back to question number 2. Wait, let me get out of here. Get out of the sharing. Stop Airplay. Okay. Question number. Lost my place. Question number 2. I really enjoyed the initial 1971 Music Changed Everything or whatever, and several more in the series are listed, but clicking them gives add to up next instead of play. Is there any way to tell what dates future? Okay. Let me get back to QuickTime. and get back into my mirroring. Okay. All right, Don, I'm holding down, I held down that back button on my remote, and I'm back to the response that I'm getting is very slow. Okay, I just scrolled up toward to my Apple TV app. Okay. And you can see I too watched 1971. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, I can't show you, Don, so I'll just have to tell you. Remember, I said very early in the talk, I may run into rights management here. Okay, Don, when I went yesterday to the 1971 series, by the way, it's in my sweet spot too. I can recommend this series for all of you baby boomers and pre-baby boomers, which I definitely am. It's about 1 year in music. When I looked at the bottom of the button, Don, all of the dates were March 27th. And so I went to, as you can see on the screen there, you can see there that I got to start up season 1, episode 8. It was the 8th episode to see if it would play. So I'm not sure exactly why you had trouble getting it. But what I would do is I would restart my Apple TV and kind of see if it resets in some way and see if all of the episodes come up. If they don't all come up, I don't have an answer for you.
Thank you. But some of them are series that, well, like that Katie Couric one, or the NBC, that was one of the first ones. Not who was it? Anyway, one of the first shows that came on. It was about the Matt Lauer thing.
Uh-huh.
And with Reese Witherspoon and all that, they had several.
Oh, the morning show.
Yeah, the morning show. I think that they only came out at the time. You had to wait a week or whatever for the next one.
Yes. Okay. And that's, Don, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason as to why they're doing it, but Disney does it. Apple TV Plus does it with some of their shows. Well, they will release the first 2 or 3 episodes, and then weekly they'll release new episodes. There's a series on Apple TV called Big Shot that I've been watching that I really enjoy, and they release the first 2 episodes and then they've been weekly. I don't know why they do it, except that's to keep you hooked into the app.
Right, but does it tell you that after you've watched the number 2, let's say, does it say you had to wait or?
Well, there's some place you can navigate to on the screen that shows you all of the episodes that have been released. And if you know that you only have 3 episodes, you're getting them weekly.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And I believe that's the last question I have. Not bad. 12:37.
All right, that's pretty good. All right, we do have a member with a problem, and I was wondering if we could possibly help them out.
All
Larry, are you here? Can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, I am here. And my 55-inch TCL Roku TV is asking for an Airplay password. And I cannot find out what that is or how to find it.
My first question to you, Larry, is that it's not asking you for an Airplay password because you don't have a password for Airplay. So it's asking you for a password for something else.
The title of the block is AirPlay password.
It says AirPlay password.
And then it says enter the password for 55-inch TCL Roku TV.
All right. You've heard my answer. Can anyone give Larry any help?
I know that when you try to mirror your phone or your iPad to the Apple TV, it gives you a 4-digit number that you have to enter to complete the mirroring. It's not like that, Larry?
I have not had success with that, no.
Well, this
Hello.
is Ferguson. I came across that same problem recently, and it turned out, I think I Googled it. It wanted the password on the router.
That's your
Password
Wi-Fi
on the what?
router.
Password.
Router.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I've tried. Oh, well, wait a minute now.
Tried that?
I have not tried that. All right, thank you. I will try that.
Oh,
wow.
wonderful.
Could they have been asking for the Wi-Fi password?
No,
That
I was setting up my AirPlay for my printer, and it worked.
mhm.
Huh. Well, try that,
Right.
Larry. See,
I will.
Yeah.
give them
Thank you
the
very
give them the
much.
Wi-Fi password. See if that works.
Right.
But
Okay.
I
Right.
would have to say that's a serious labeling problem.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yes, because there is no AirPlay password. So
Oh.
they're either asking for the Wi-Fi, and again, like we just heard, for
Yeah.
the router password. But AirPlay does not ask for a password because it's already on. It's like on your network. So otherwise, it wouldn't do anything for you. But anyway, go ahead, Jim. All yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, I am done for today, George, and I'll turn it back to you.
Are there any more further questions?
Yeah,
that
I
law.
have a comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had the same response for the volume control that Jim did. I use it on a non-smart TV, non-connected to the internet, but my Apple TV, the audio, the volume control works, and it puts through the amplifier and speakers that are connected to the TV, but it just like Jim, it just worked.
It's a wonder.
May I say something about what Larry's question was? I also bought the new Apple TV and connected it to my television. When I used one of these German television shows, streamed it down on my iMac and wanted to project it using AirPlay to an Apple TV, really both, to my television set, I was asked for that 4-digit passcode, and I had to enter it, and only once. And after that, the connection was there every time I try to use it.
So did it present a password like passcode on your phone or where?
I think the passcode appeared on my television set on Apple TV, and I had to go back to my computer, which is in a different room, and enter that passcode, that 4-digit number, and then the connection was established.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question on the mirroring. Do you then have to change your, your TV? Let's say you're watching TV and then you want to mirror the thing. You have to change to the Apple TV remote first before you do the mirroring AirPlay.
You mean what?
Input.
I'm presuming the Apple TV is already the input to your television set.
Well, it's attached, but it's not, I have several things. Do I want to watch TV or do I want to do that?
Yeah, you got to select Apple TV on your setting. So
Yeah,
I have, I don't know how many inputs you have, but I have 3 inputs. I have a Blu-ray
Right.
player, I have a cable box, and I have an Apple TV. Yes,
Right.
you've got to choose the input.
Thank you.
Mhm.
But Don, it's interesting what I'm doing. If I shut down my television and my Apple TV, everything is dormant, silent, shut off, cut off. And I go to my iMac and I click on display and I want to connect to my living room. That prompts my television set to turn itself on. It prompts Apple TV to turn itself on. And although I'm in a totally different room, when I go back to my television room, it's on and I see the display of my iMac there.
Thank
That's
you.
Eckhart, that's a setting on the Apple TV. If you want
Sure,
to,
yes.
if
Yeah,
you want,
yeah.
if you want the remote to control your
Yeah.
on off on your TV.
Huh,
Interesting though.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Thanks, everybody.
Great, thank you. All right,
Thank
everyone,
you.
thank you for your questions. Larry, please let us know what happens.
Thanks, Jim.
I sure will. Thanks a lot, everyone.
All right, you're welcome. All
Thank
right,
you, Jim.
George, it's all yours.
Jim, great meeting, very enjoyable, lots of interaction. And why doesn't everybody unmute and thank Jim?
Thanks,
Thank
Jim.
you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thanks, Jim.